Good morning, everyone. It's an ugly winter day out here. I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. The girls are out enjoying a snack, and we're going to talk about the things you should look for if you're going to buy a chicken coop kit. Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. This video is going to give you a whole bunch of different things that you can look at in regards to if you were going to buy a prefab coop kit. Some things that I think you should definitely look for in a purchase. And then at the end, I'll quickly mention some things that you can do. I call them just like hacks or upgrades, so that you can buy a kit like this for convenience, but that you can improve it. So a coop kit, again, I mean that it is a coop that is pre-measured. It is prefab. Either it's something that you put together, with a set of instructions, but everything's already ready to go. They give you the hardware, or you're buying it already constructed, already put together. Right, Lenore? Tick, tick. So I honestly have only ever used coop kits. I've had 3 different brands, 3 different manufacturers. In the YouTube playlist here on my channel, I have an entire one that's all about coops and designs and things that we do for the roost bars and all kinds of stuff. So you can see all of those. But there are a couple of things that I really want you to look for and I really want you to think about. So the coop kit, the reason that they are the price that they are is because you're paying for convenience, right? Somebody else has already done all the measurements. They've already gotten the materials. They have the hardware. Everything's just ready for you to assemble. And so with that convenience, there's going to be some things that usually are not included. So this is what I want you to think about. It does help if you have an idea of how many chickens you're wanting to get, because there's going to be some things you have to kind of make some decisions on. So let's get started. A coop kit, first of all, it needs to have, we're looking at them right now with roost bars and roost bar space. That's one of the most important things, because honestly, some of the things that a coop kit will advertise is not exactly accurate. So you really need to be assuming that they're not telling the truth, as mean as that may sound. You need to actually check things like dimensions. So look for the 3D tours, look for the videos that show you one that's assembled and what it actually looks like. But one of the things you're going to need is a parking spot for chickens to sleep at night. Each of their little fluff butts is going to need, I say, a minimum of 8 inches of a roost bar space of a parking spot. I prefer 10 to 12 inches per bird, because they will fluff up and kind of get fatter in the winter and sit on their feet to stay warm. So when they're talking about how many roost bars they've got, you need to really look at how much actual roosting space do I have. And the roost space, that's where they're going to sleep all night, every night. So that's the first thing to look at. If they have just 2 roost bars that are 2 feet across each, that to me, it means you can have 4 chickens in that coop. Don't trust what they say. Oh yeah, this coop can hold 12 chickens, because it probably can only hold 8. So just be aware of that. The next thing is, I'll say this really quickly, the opposite is true when it comes to nesting boxes. You don't need that many nesting boxes. I have 7 hens right now. They use 1 or 2 nesting boxes. So a whole bunch of nesting boxes is not really a quality that you need. You do need plenty of roost space. Okay, so the next thing is, I want you to look at what ventilation options there are for the coop. Now, some of this will depend on the climate where you live. I'm in South Central Texas, so we get easily over 100 degrees for a significant part of the year. So I need to have ventilation. And if we just think basic science for a minute, hot air is going to rise. Your chickens and their warm bodies are in there all night, every night sleeping. So you're going to want some ventilation up towards the top. Now that can be, this coop kit has a little bit of ventilation right here. It has a window like this on this side and the other side. Sometimes it's under the overhang of the roof. It could be other doors and things like that, but you do need some ventilation. I think people usually worry about their chickens getting too cold in the winter. I'm sorry, they're being really noisy this morning. I will tell you that chickens can be just fine when the coop inside is like 40 or 50 degrees all night. So don't worry about, oh my gosh, I can't have any windows because I have to keep them super warm. The opposite will be true for you. Again, if you get anywhere where you get, I would say, over like 85 degrees Fahrenheit, you need to make sure you have plenty of ventilation. Along with that comes the next tip. Your coop kit, any part of it that's open, so like my coop kit is 2 stories, any part that is open, it needs to be hardware cloth. Hardware cloth is also all on this coop kit, by the way. This is the Omaha model from Rugged Ranch. And this is one of the coop kits from Avituven. And again, you can see all these in that playlist. Hardware cloth is a very sturdy, it is a firmer wire. It's called hardware cloth, but it is wire. And as you can see, this is probably 1/4 of an inch. It has no give to it. So any kind of predator that's trying to come in, if it's really small, like a tiny little snake, honestly, your chickens are going to eat it. And anything that's bigger, like a raccoon, possum, fox, you know, feral cat, anything like that, they're not going to be able to get in. So you want to make sure that all of the exterior is hardware cloth. That to me is something. You could buy another coop kit that doesn't have that, but then I literally, like, I would not put any chickens in it at all, not even for one night, unless you've replaced it with hardware cloth. So that includes all of the exterior spots, as well as, like I was saying, any of those windows that you have. Now, if your coop has sliding windows, like this one here, that you can slide it open and close, that's great too. But again, it has to be hardware cloth only. Only hardware cloth, not chicken wire, not rabbit wire, only hardware cloth. Don't get anything else. Along with that comes 2 points that I'm kind of going to mention simultaneously. There's predator locks that you need to make sure that you've got on all of the doors, and you need plenty of access points. Why? Well, I would assume that at some point you're going to be cleaning out the poop that's inside, because your chickens poop all night long as they sleep, which is just super amazing. I'm so glad they evolved that way. But for example, this is where my chickens sleep. And I'll say this coop came with 3 roost bars here, and also 2 that you can bolt up there. So this coop can easily hold 10 or 12 chickens. But the problem is that on a regular basis, as you can see, I've got them open. I have to have space to clean out all of that stuff. Now there may be, like, this coop also has a sliding tray. But honestly, I'm sorry, they're making so much noise. But honestly, with a tray that's that big, it's going to be really super heavy. So I want plenty of access doors. That's for cleaning the coop. That's for getting out eggs. But it's also for checking on your chickens. I come out almost every single night and do, oh, thanks a lot, and do just a check, right? Like, kind of like I'm a camp counselor, right? I want to count all the heads, make sure everybody's in bed the way they're supposed to be. And then also when I'm doing medical checks on my chickens, or if I'm dosing my chickens with any kind of vaccination, medication, anything like that, I do it when they're up in bed, because then they're really sleepy. Oh my gosh, y'all. I do it when they're really sleepy and they're easier to grab. So this coop, for example, it has 2 access doors down on the bottom, which is where I keep their food and water. It has 2 access doors here. That's where the nesting boxes are. 4 access doors around. Jeez. And 1 more on the other side where I have the ramp and this. No, I'm sorry. 2 on the other side where I have the ramp and their little storage zone. So be thinking about, you know, on the day-to-day basis, if you're going in and you're filling up their food, or you're cleaning out their water, or you're collecting eggs, or like I said, you're going to have to clean poop, because they will poop all night, every night. You need to have plenty of access doors. I'll speak again real quick to the predator locks. Oh my gosh. Everyone's getting ready to lay eggs. The other thing I'll say is I will put up in spring of 2023 on realsimplemama.com, I will put a quick list that you can print out when you're coop kit shopping of, here are the things that I say you definitely need. Here are things that would be great. Here are things that are easy for you to upgrade. And then here's some things you should do once you've bought your kit. All right, so I don't know if they did this strategy on purpose, but I just gave the chickens a whole bunch more of their new food. I'm doing a video on this new Kalmbach Hen House Reserve food, but now you notice they're much quieter. Carmen Hen Diego is over in detention for a minute for being kind of a jerk, but now hopefully we can finish this video in peace. So again, for predator locks, you want a lock that's a multi-step lock. For example, to open it, I can just slide it across, right? But to close it, now you can't just slide it. So you want a lock, I call them 2-step locks also, because to open it you need to do 2 things if you latch it properly. Again, these are some things that are, I mean, they're not expensive, but it's like, if I'm buying a coop for 200, 300, 400, you know, whatever, how much money, it's like, do I also want to have to do all of these things? So hopefully if you're getting a coop kit, you can look for multi-step locks. And again, the balance of that is, I do like having a lot of access doors. I think that's probably the best thing about this coop kit, that again, I paid full price for. None of these things are sponsored that I'm talking about. So just keep that in mind. So a really super quick review, and then I'll give you a couple of other pointers. The main thing is that you need to measure the roost space for however many chickens you think that you're wanting. Don't trust the manufacturer or the advertisement or the website or the store or whatever. You need to actually measure. And then I'll talk about some upgrades in a minute and why my roost bars look funny. But you need to make sure that you have plenty of roost space. Don't worry about a ton of nesting boxes. This Coop kit comes with 4 and it really only needs 2. This Coop kit, like I said, just using this one as an example, I say this one can comfortably hold 10, maybe 12 chickens. I have 7 in it right now, and I've gotten to take some of the roost bars out. You want to think about plenty of ventilation. Insulation, as far as keeping heat in, is probably not going to be a problem on anything that is built solid. Even with those windows, those 2 square windows staying open all winter long, and obviously there's an open space there where they come upstairs where the ramp is. Having these doors closed at night, it was still like at least 45 or 50 degrees in here. I have plenty of other videos about ventilation and insulation in that same Coop playlist, but just because you're cold, it doesn't mean you need to run out and intervene and bar up all the windows. To me, the bigger danger, the bigger risk would be you have no ventilation in here at all. The ammonia breakdown from the poop or them having too much carbon dioxide, that to me is a bigger problem. So don't worry about them being cold. They do need plenty of ventilation all the time. Speaking of ammonia breakdown, because your chickens poop all night, you need to make sure that you have plenty of easy access doors where you can think about what material you want to put under the roost bars. It's easy for you to get in there and clean, because I'll be honest, you have to get in there and clean quite often. I come out and clean. It's winter right now. I come out and clean probably at least once every other day, if not every day. So I needed to make sure I have plenty of doors where I can get in here, and I can get in here, and I can get in over on the side. So keep that in mind. You want to be looking for hardware cloth on all of the open areas. If you have like the yard or the run along with the Coop kit, or with any of your windows, hardware cloth is the best. For me, it would be a deal breaker if the Coop doesn't have hardware cloth all the way around. You can certainly cut hardware cloth and staple it yourself. But I mean, without getting into too much detail, you have to use like heavy duty gloves. You have to buy the hardware cloth, and that's more labor. To me, the point of a good Coop kit is that it's convenient, right? It's supposed to be somebody else thought of all of this stuff and set it up for me so that I don't have to do it. Let's talk about a couple of other things. Again, in that Coop playlist that I keep referencing, I also have some videos about hacks, like when I had a Coop from Innovative Pet or Innovation Pet, which I really like that company. Their Coop kits are great too. It was basically by hacks. I mean, these are things that we bought the kit, we like the kit, but there's some things that aren't perfect, so we tweaked it. In general though, let me pan around because I don't want my shadow in the shot like an amateur. In general, I do recommend a couple of things. First of all, depending on where you live, you might want to look into solar fans. Depending on what you want to do with your chickens, you can look into putting lights in the coop that basically extend the daylight hours for them. Some people do it just in winter, so they get eggs all year round. Some people do it all year round. I personally don't put lights in the coop. We did have a solar fan build that you could see those fans that were in there. We had it hooked up to a special kind of battery. We used solar panels for it. I have videos on that as well. And of course, we're fighting, and we want to make sure that you have, as much as possible. I mean, I don't like to go crazy with putting electricity and stuff out in the coop, but you do want it to be convenient, and you certainly want your birds to have a good quality of life. If you're going to go through all this trouble, we don't want them to just kind of be out survival of the fittest, like Lord of the Flies type style. The next thing that I recommend that you do, definitely, this is a pretty much like if you're going to get a coop kit, you need to do this, is seal it every year. You notice like why mine looks kind of weird, that Avitavin coop, how it looks like terribly splotched and stuff, is because I got lazy with cleaning my paintbrush when I was using a sealant. You can buy it. It comes like in a can in a hardware store. You don't need anything expensive. It's like maybe $5 a year. I do it once a year. I have a timer, and I have it written in my chicken tenders journal. But seal all of the exterior wood with something that's going to be waterproof, sunproof, weatherproof, basically. But I would also do the roost bars and anywhere inside where there might end up being chicken poop, because the ammonia in their droppings, remember, chickens technically don't urinate, so their droppings is their urates, which is basically like their pee, their urine, the equivalent. That high ammonia will sit, and it can start to burn through stuff. So I would seal everything once a year. Again, that's why mine cosmetically looks the way that it does. Keep the brush clean. but I set a timer to seal it every year. A couple of other things you can do. You can see I've got reflective material. We don't worry about winters here in South Central Texas. We worry a lot about the summers. And again, I know I keep referencing other videos. I do have videos on how to keep your chickens cool, different things that I've done. Again, I try to automate as much as possible because we are a family. We're out of the house working and going to school during the day. Something you don't need, but I think it's a great idea, and I'm in my shot. Dang it. Something that you don't need, but I do recommend, is getting an automatic coop door. We did pay full price for ours. You can get them set up different ways. For me, this is a big convenience because, I mean, honestly, it's one less thing that I have to do that I know my chickens can have a good quality life without me having to come out here. And if that sounds really lazy or you're judging me, then, you know, oh well, it is what it is. But the automatic coop door, we have ours set up so that it opens and closes at certain times. You can see, to make it fit in this particular doorway, we just built a little wood frame to narrow that gap, if that makes sense. But this is the Happy Hen House one. I have videos here about what it came with and what we set it up with. It's been awesome. I have a timer on my chicken tenders journal, a reminder, an alarm. Every 6 months I come out and change the batteries. I do change the hours that it opens and closes, just depending on what time of year it is. For example, we're starting to get longer days, so I will close the door at night a little bit later. But it is a predator proof door. It's a solid panel of metal that slides down and locks. I've never had any issues with it, and we've had it 3 years. It's been wonderful. Again, just change batteries normally. So other than that, basically just be aware of your chicken coop. Come out, hang out with your chickens, take attendance, count them, you know, read them a story and put them up to bed. But just be aware of things that are going on, looking for security as far as what you want to do around the coop, things like that. Again, I'll say again, I have videos about predators. You have predators coming in from 3 different ways. You have aerial predators that'll come in during the day. Obviously, when your chickens are locked up at night, hawks are not a problem. But you have to think about animals who are smart enough to open doors. Like I said, animals like raccoons and possums, and then animals like coyotes, cougars, all kinds of things like that who will try to dig under. So if you notice, what we decided to do with this coop, it's not the method we've always used, but it's really smart. We laid these pavers out, and I think all of these pavers were like 40 bucks at Lowe's. They're really, really inexpensive. They're like 10-inch square pavers. We laid them out, but the coop is not on the edge of the paver. The paver goes like this. Does that make sense? I know I'm not explaining this well, but basically there's no way an animal can get under the coop unless they can completely flip that paver with the weight of the coop on it. Does that make sense? So the pavers extend underneath as well, like to there. So that way no one's digging in. You can also use hardware cloth or chicken wire. I've shown it in other chicken coops. Staple it to the inside frame and then bury it and put it like, I call it like a skirt that goes out along like this so that things can't dig in. Unfortunately, a lot of the predators you'll get, especially nocturnally, they're very intelligent and they're very persistent. So even things like skunks, basically, once they know that there's chickens in a spot, they're going to keep coming back and trying to find a way in. I've only had one animal attack in the 6 years that I've had chickens. But, you know, we still want to be careful. We want to be smart. We want to do as much as we can. So that is all of the stuff that I can think of. Whew. As far as if you are building a coop kit, again, go check out that coop playlist because it has all the hacks, all the things that I've done with this coop, that I've done with the other ones that I have, what I like about this coop, what I think is stupid as far as the design. You can always email me. My address is here. And like I said, by May or June of 2023, I will have the typed out version of this video on realsimplemama.com. And I'll have a free printable. You don't have to have a login or anything like that. I'll have a free printable so that when you go shopping for coop kits or you're sitting and looking at your computer, you can have my little printout there next to you and you can kind of look at all of the parameters and things that you want to look for in a coop kit for your backyard chickens. Thanks so much, guys.